Hello, dear friends. My father hated politics, and I didn't know why. Now I understand. Opinion piece. Politicizing the truth. Corrupt political culture. Manipulation of science. Basel IV started on 2nd January. Forcing banks to hold assets. Russia shuts down UFO over Ukraine. Let's start. To believe that science is incorruptible would be a naive fallacy. When a hidden struggle is waged, truth becomes politicized on both sides. A war is polarity writ large, and yet this hidden clash is happening with the destruction of the underground tunnels and the creation of tribunals all over the world. It would actually be a struggle of good versus evil, says Steve Biko. The politicization of truth is the manipulation of science in order to gain political credence. This phenomenon occurs when government, business, or influential groups use legal or economic pressures to influence the results of scientific research on the way they are distributed, communicated, or interpreted. The politicization of science can negatively affect academic and scientific freedom. Historically, there have been groups that have campaigned to promote their interest in defiance of scientific consensus and in an effort to manipulate public policy. Political corruption is the use of power for a legitimate private gain by government officials or their networked contacts. Forms of political corruption include bribery, favoritism, nepotism, and political patronage. Forms of political sponsor, in turn, include clientelism, earmarking, slush funds, and spoils systems, as well as political machines, which is a system that operates for correct purposes. When corruption is embedded in the political culture, this can be called patrimonialism. A form of government that is based on corruption is called kleptocracy or rule by thieves. Awakening. Jesus summarizes the situation and its future outlook. Small groups of very wealthy, influential, and powerful people have got control of the world economy and politics for far too long, and their reign is coming to an abrupt end. Much of the fighting that is currently going on around the planet is the result of their latest attempts to maintain their positions of power by causing conflict and intense suffering in as many places as possible in order to create fear on a large scale. They will not succeed. Here, in the spiritual realms, we are well aware of the frustration you are experiencing as you wait expectantly for the promised changes that will establish peace on earth and food, shelter, and security for everyone on the planet. Humankind has set the collective intention for these changes to occur, and therefore they will occur. Truly, the power of your collective intention is immense. You have chosen to awaken collectively, and so you will. You are already in the process of doing so, and there is not the slightest possibility that you will change your mind or reverse your awakening process. What you have collectively chosen to achieve is unstoppable. The collective attempt to free humankind from centuries of servitude, combined with the rising energy of love, has an unstoppable momentum. At best, the click could only slow the advance towards unity and world peace, but it cannot stop it. The system is broken. Message from Mira of the Pleiadian High Council via Valerie Donner. In your new year, you will find that this is the time to dismantle. You have already begun to experience how the three-dimensional material world is collapsing. You are seeing where the system is broken and no longer functioning. This has created some gaps and some deficiencies. You are adjusting and adapting, and you will have to do a lot more of that. As we review the Earth from the position of the Earth Council, we see that many things are wrong. The truth is that what you thought was serving you and working for you was not really serving the majority at all. The old way simply allowed you to function in a more routine way. You didn't have to think and discover new ways of achieving what needed to be done. Now it is forcing you to be more creative, to allow for new opportunities in order to provide what is needed. There are many other rules, regulations and laws that are crumbling. You may see them almost turning to compost, because that is what many of them were with. They just held you up and kept you in line. They forced you to do certain things that really weren't necessary. It gave false power to those egos that needed to be fed, for one reason or another. We will simply throw that behavior into the folder of the past and say that it was third-dimensional and no longer applies. The three-dimensional material world no longer has the strong hold over you that it had in the past. You are beginning to see how unreal some parts of your life have been. At this time, you may be wondering where you are, and it may seem strange to you. This is because change is rampant at this time. It has to change because you are moving forward at breakneck speed with love, light and truth. Go and most of the dark ones, so they do not have the control over you that they once had. This is to be celebrated. You will have a much more beneficial life. The past is the past. It is a lower frequency that takes you to a lower frequency. When you get caught, let it go. Rise into the new and beautiful light of higher consciousness and spread that light within your body and wherever you go. The earth is becoming more and more beautiful because it is infused with higher consciousness and higher light. We admire you, we love you, and we support you. We are here for you. We are going to great places and you will be happy. Reset News. The overall theme for 2023 will be Here We Go, writes Michael Snyder. We are in the midst of the greatest transfer of wealth in the history of the world. We are still in wait-and-see mode this new year, and next week would be a good start for many. They are doing a final test of the system to make sure everything is working properly. We are in a slow routine until we cross the finish line. March 2023 would be the ideal target date for the currencies of all the world's countries to be exchanged on one-to-one basis with each other, a situation that is expected to last up to 5 years. Mike Adams says we are rewriting the future in real time as humankind recognizes the illusion of the Truman Show theater. Something incredible and awesome is about to happen, says John Sabin. God will have fun defeating our enemies in front of us. If anyone was looking for divine signs, we can see several of them. The fight is here and 2023 is the year. Stay calm as we get through the final days of this theater. Charlie Ward says that Basel IV is already in place as of 2nd January 2023, and banks must comply with Basel IV rules that require them to have assets to back their position, as was the case in the 70s. But when they started printing fiat money, it all got out of hand. Those days are over. Banks have to comply with Basel IV to participate in the QFS system. If a bank finds itself in a situation where it has no assets to back its position, it cannot open its door for business. The problem for banks is that they have no precious metals to back a central bank digital currency. They have launched the new Fed coin, but it is not backed by gold or assets, which means more of the same. The fiat currency will be respected for about a year as we switch to asset-backed currency. Many are worried about bank runs. The Russian Federation codifies the digital ruble as the official asset-backed currency. The BRICS design was to force the adoption of a global financial restat backed by commodities and assets. Iraqi citizens have been celebrating their revaluation according to their national news. USA. The Fed admits we are in recession, but will keep raising rates. Medical school students graduate with about $3 million in debt. While doctors may end up making a lot of money, many still spend more than a decade in debt, and doctors who come from less affluent families face the highest levels of debt. Biden forgot the lesson of Vietnam. Propaganda doesn't win a war, says Sorcha Fall. On Saturday, 5th January, Donald Trump was nominated for Speaker in the House of Representatives. Iraq's Supreme Court has issued an arrest warrant for Trump over the Soleimani assassination. El Paso clears downtown of sprawling migrant camps ahead of Biden's visit. Europe. Record mild winter temperatures in Europe drive down gas prices. France is now under the control of the White Hats. Switzerland will provide patients with safe, pure blood transfusions. The Netherlands records more deaths than births for the first time. A rail strike brought the UK to a standstill on Thursday. Canada's parliament promotes euthanasia for 1-year-old babies with special needs. How far have we come? Davos Forum declares pedophilia would be the natural, in quotes, and pedophiles would save humankind, in quotes. Seeing is believing. Curious. When Planet X gets close enough, it actually sucks electrons from the sun, and that's when the 3 days of darkness happen, writes the Higher Truth Rises channel. Solar storm. The new sunspot AR3182 poses a threat of strong solar flares. On 3rd January, an X-class flare occurred on the other side of the sun, followed on 6th January by a final X-flare on the Earth side. Given the size and apparent complexity of this large active region, it is very likely that flares will continue in the coming days. The sunspot is living up to expectations. Fully visible for less than 24 hours, the active sunspot has already produced an intense X1.2 class solar flare. The eruption was recorded on 6th January. A pulse of X-rays and extreme ultraviolet radiation from the flare ionized the Earth's upper atmosphere, causing a shortwave radio blackout across the South Pacific. Russia says it has shot down a UFO over Ukraine. A round object 1.5 miles high was reportedly shot down over Rostov. A mysterious object described by local media as a UFO has been shot down in the Rostov region of southern Russia. Vasily Golubey, the governor of Rostov province, wrote on Telegram that a small-sized object in the shape of a ball flying in the wind had been discovered on 3rd January at an altitude of about 1.5 miles. Golubey said a decision was made to liquidate the object seen over the village of Sultan Sala in the Mayanikovsky district. Former Russian space chief says it is unreal, and the study as like bacteria. The former Director General of the Russian Space Agency, Roscosmos, admits that visitors from the stars are real and that they study us like bacteria, reports the Daily Star. According to Dmitry Rogozin, advanced intelligent beings could well be out there and may already be analyzing life on Earth. In a similar move, NASA chose 16 people to take part in the study of several UFO sightings starting on Monday, 24th October. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.